Tune in now, it's time to smile.
Welcome to the Joy Talk Show. We are here today for a very organic conversation, and we're going to be talking about menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause. We're going to hand it off to Pam because she's been hosting and co-hosting some master classes on menopause. And we just like to hear what she has to say. And we invite her to share about things she's offering. We'll learn more.
Well, thank you, Tracy. Welcome, everyone. My name is Pam George, and we're in the midst of a coaching program. We had two master classes on perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, and we had a lot of women. It was a global meeting because we had people from all over the world. And I am not an expert on this topic, but we had experts on that panel, and I've learned a lot. And I think one of the things that I want to start talking about is I know each one of you are in different stages. And Trey, thank you for asking me to catch up on what I've been doing. A lot of times we come to this stage and we're like, why is my body not responding the way it used to? If you ever thought that, I just want to say we're not crazy, we're not lazy, we're not undisciplined, and we're not broken. It's just that our bodies are shifting and our hormones are recalibrating, and our brain, our beautiful, powerful brain, is trying to keep up with all of that. And so the Brain Reset Coaching program that we started for people in midlife is just really trying to train our brain and what are some new skills we need to reset our brain to catch up with what's happening in our body. So that's what I'm about.
I love that. That would be so helpful to have that education on what we can do. Help our brains now.
I can actually send you the master classes if anyone's interested.
Oh,
If you want to.
yes. We can post that in our group too. So,
Yeah.
Pam, we were chatting a couple weeks ago. Would you define for our audience the difference between perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause?
What I understood from what the expert said is perimenopause even starts as early as our late 30s, and we start having our hormones shift. Menopause actually increases our cortisol sensitivity. What cortisol is, it's our stress hormone, and our blood sugar also gets volatile. And then if you experience sleep disruption, you can think about my body's shifting and I don't sleep as I used to. And then if you find yourself reacting more emotionally to things, that's a sign that we're kind of moving through the stages. So before, menopause is that time when your body is transitioning and your periods start getting irregular. And then once your period stops, if it stopped for a year or two, then you're entering post-menopause. That's helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that the way I understood it was menopause was the day. Like that was like after the 12 months of no period, it was the day. But then there's also like stress can do that. So you might have 12 months, and maybe that's why they do the year to 2 years
Mhm.
because it's okay. Was this a stressor and you just didn't have it for 5 months in addition to the 7 months before, right? Like that variant. So once you hit 2 years of nothing, nothing, they're probably like, yeah, okay, now you can officially
Yeah.
say you're
Because
in.
you'll think a year and suddenly you get your period and you're like, I thought I'm done. You kind of like thrown away all your pads and everything, and then here it comes.
I had the 11 months. The first time it was 11 months. And then I did get it once, and then I didn't have it
Yeah.
anymore. My onset was, I mean, who knows when the actual onset was, but one of the things that pushed me further along was I had an ectopic pregnancy and I
Mhm.
had one ovary removed. And so the course of menopause is we have no more eggs, right? Or so that stops and changes the stuff. But I think it, for me, when I removed the one ovary, it sped up the process because it was within a year. that I went into my first 11 months and then 1 month and then done.
Thank you for sharing that. That makes so much sense. I don't know
So,
where you're, Cindy.
sorry, I have a question for you then, or for the group. Sorry, Tracy, this just popped in my head.
Oh,
So, do you think when a woman at the age that she may start perimenopausal, is that like hereditary, that timing, or do you think it's more environmental?
That is a great question. And what I learned was it could be both. They say how typically, if somebody asked me when I was going through this, when did your mom start? And I was like, okay. I was trying to remember because I don't know when my mom started. She wasn't telling me she had menopause or anything.
Right.
But I remember the signs, the high reactivity, the sleeplessness, just the stress, because I think she probably started in her mid 40s. And so I was in my 20s. So just experiencing that. And then I started feeling the same thing. And that's when I felt like, oh, this is what she was going through. And I had a lot more grace and compassion. So I think to answer your question, I think it's both. But I
Yeah.
got to do some research to find that out. But this is just personally my opinion.
Yeah, in my situation, I remember calling my mom and being like, when does this end? She goes, well, she's 30 years older than me. And she said, I'll let you know. And I was like, that, and my mom can be a little sarcastic sometimes, but she would still have them. I would see her and she'd still have and I did not have bad hot flashes. I was very lucky. It was very fast for me. So I gratefully did not pick up on
Yeah.
if it was hereditary, if it is hereditary, I definitely didn't get it as bad because I am still not 30 year right like but I did
Yeah.
read that you can have it till your 80s.
Wow.
Really? What?
Oh
Well,
no.
I really believe
Oh,
that what you eat, your exercise, also has a lot to do it. My mom was a nutritionist, so she
mm,
really ate healthy and she taught me to eat healthy. So I noticed when I would eat unhealthy, the hot flashes would be there. When I was eating healthy, I didn't have any hot flashes. So I saw a correlation with that.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's really big. I didn't know your mom was a nutritionist.
that's what I
Mhm.
was
Tell
gonna
me more.
say.
Yeah, she was. Yep.
Yeah.
Which I'm very grateful for because it helped my menopause. It wasn't too bad for me because yeah, I did have my sleepless nights, but then in that sleepless nights, a book was produced. So that's how I was able to write Sparkle, where I couldn't sleep at night. So I would just sit on my table. I'm not wanting to sleep. So I would do the Samuel prayer, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And then out came that book. So I kind of used my menopause energy to produce a book.
That's great. God works all things together for
He
good.
does. He does. He kind of, well, the book is all
And
about my journey out
mhm.
of trauma. So I think it's also a period in our life where we have to rewire our past because it's actually a beautiful moment to connect with God, to have a second chance, a new life. And that's why we call that masterclass Midlife Reset. And our coaching program is Brain Reset because it's beautiful because we've all have all the wisdom of all these years we're living. And now our body is changing and we actually have the ability to be able to have a healthy, long life. And what inspired me was I went to a yoga class and the teacher was 75 years old and she was like doing all these things and I couldn't even do it. And I was like, hey, it's all up to us how we treat this phase in our life. So,
Mhm.
Oh, I love that story about it's a time that we can reset and rewire, transform. That's beautiful and encouraging. Yeah. I know from my experience with menopause, post-menopause is I didn't really have hot flashes and I don't really experience many symptoms that I know of, except sometimes it takes longer to get to sleep on some nights. And so that's been my experience.
Yeah.
I think one of the ones for me, the biggest symptoms was weight gain. Like my metabolism went,
Yeah.
I could eat, it felt like I would just eat a sandwich and I would gain 5 pounds, like
True.
that was one of the
So,
biggest changes for me. It was really difficult for me. So now I'm working to instill better eating habits and exercise to
yeah.
maintain and possibly lose some of the weight
Yeah.
that I gained during menopause.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking about that. And Cynthia might be an expert on this one, but what I realized was more than just fixing our metabolism, if we don't address our nervous system, we're like fighting with our own biology. And so I feel I had to learn it's not just the diet and the rigid plan, and it's more of how do I reset my brain and reset that whole program that we have. Those are 5 research-based strategies to train our brain. And the first one, if you don't mind me sharing, Trey,
Go ahead.
is
I'd love to
that.
hear it.
So R stands for reliability and just keeping our integrity with ourselves, keeping small promises. We serve others and we keep our word to others. We've been working for all these years. This is a time for us to just keep small promises to ourselves. And when we can trust our word to ourselves, that also reduces the stress and the sleeplessness. And so that was the first step is reliability. So that's the R, because you know me, I like all the different acronyms because it helps me remember. So maybe we could talk about the challenge of being reliable to ourselves or to
Mhm.
have integrity with ourselves, because that's a challenge. And that's one thing we need to reset to really handle this phase of life. I think for me, I had to just start small. Like Cindy said, okay, I know I have to eat healthy. I know I have to exercise, but I just don't want to. It was so much easier before. Like I would have a cookie and I can work out and I'm okay. Here I have a cookie and I work out and nothing happens. So I had to start small. So what I do is, okay, I know I need to move my body every day. I need to drink some water. When can I do it? I'll just tell you what I do. When I get up in the morning, I want my coffee. But I know at this stage we need to have more water to keep ourselves hydrated. So I have to drink 32 ounces of, if you guys can see my water, um, before I can treat myself to my coffee. And then while my hot water kettle is boiling the water, I say, okay, while you're waiting for that, you can do your little 10-minute exercise. And I get it done before I drink my coffee. And that's helped me learn to trust myself. I'm a person who exercises. I'm a person who drinks water. And I know it sounds so silly and small. Like I used to have a huge 1 gallon jar of water before, and that just overwhelms me. And I just put that aside. Let's start with small 32 and up. If I can do 10 minutes before I could do an hour, and I would do my Zumba, and now I don't want to do any of that. So it's like a different mindset. So just small, trustworthy sayings is just doable. And if we do it consistently every single day, it rewires who we are and how we think.
Mhm. I love that, being diligent about our goals and the things we want to do and those small steps. I like that, the small things.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me by doing those small things for your health, your 78-year-old would thank you for that later.
So true. So true.
So would you like to go on with the E and the reset?
Oh, you guys want to know more?
Yes.
All right. Well, the E is energy, because when we are going through the reset, we just lose energy. And so, ways to increase our energy, we all have something called ATP. It's a biological term with our mitochondria. And what it means is you have to move to increase energy. Our bodies will say at that stage, let's just rest. Let's just take, we don't have as much energy. Let me just take a nap. But just like when you sit and you start the car, if you're in a car, you start the car and the car is driving. What keeps it going is the alternator. So our movement is the alternator to our energy, to our body. So when we move, that's when our energy increases. And our body is saying rest, relax, sleep some more. But what happens is when we do that, it's actually working against our energy. So that's the E, which is being more energized.
As you were talking about that, I was thinking about the momentum. Like they say, the body in motion stays in motion, and just rely
That's
on
right.
that
Right.
momentum.
That's the science of it. Yeah. Cynthia, tell us about the body and the importance of how do we get energy and keep our energy going somatically at this phase in our life when we feel the energy drain, we feel like we don't want to, there's discomfort to move. It's almost like we're slowing down, but now we are trying to get the energy to work for us rather than against us.
It's not my area of expertise. Metabolic health is complex and it is diverse. I think our experiences are worthwhile and worth talking about, but when you look at the literature in anything with menopause and metabolic health, there is still so much research to be done. And even if you understand the function of the mitochondria and the health of the mitochondria, if you don't know what pathways are being blocked, it's complex. So, I mean, like my biggest recommendation is go get some blood work done. I know Tracy has done some metabolic health stuff with another company where she has gotten blood work done and able to kind of understand her body a little bit better. I think that is integral to who we are if you're not journeying through this phase with some ease. Had I not gained excess weight, I had my hormone shift happened pretty severely during my pregnancy. My son is 21. So I have been battling with metabolic changes for a long time, but because I was so much younger, I was in my 30s, I was like, oh, I said a lot of negative words and had a lot of negative thoughts. I'm being too lazy. I should be working out. Now, mind you, I had jobs that were very active. I was extremely active. So I just only knew what I knew, right? I had nutritional classes in massage school. I had an idea, but I didn't have enough information. And then finding out on top of it, dealing with some health issues I didn't know I had, that was complicating it as well. To be honest, I have peripheral information and peripheral training in nutritional health, but not enough where I feel like my words are useful. My experience might be, my story might be helpful, but my wisdom around metabolic health and that journey of how our hormones and our pathways turn on and off, and where cortisol runs with progesterone and your estrogen goes down and all of that stuff, that all of that is like, I don't know that inside out, so I just feel so underqualified to say anything to that. But I do
Yeah,
know it's important in any stage of our life to reset, right? But when you combine it with that real wisdom of your body is changing, so have some grace, I think that's incredibly important to remind ourselves of
yeah.
in that journey.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I totally understand that this might not be your area of expertise, but I'm grateful for those people who have this as their expertise because the people we interviewed for the masterclass were doctors, three different doctors, and even a grief specialist. So I don't want to paraphrase what they shared. I could send you the link and we can learn. I think for this conversation, it'll be really helpful just like from what you shared, Cynthia, knowing our own body, doing our own blood work. I think that was important for me when I did my blood work. My vitamin D was so low,
Mm.
my hormones were so low. And so when we know what's happening in our bodies, that really helped me make sense. So my doctor said, double your vitamin D. And then 3 months later, she checked my blood and it had kind of reached where it needs to be. And I could feel different, So I appreciate your advice on knowing our own blood work, knowing what's happening inside our bodies. There's so many tools today for us to even find that out, which I am grateful.
Yeah. So would you like to continue with the S in the reset?
You want me to do the whole program for you guys?
If you would like to.
I could just kind of give you the general because it is a deep internal coaching work, but I could tell you those five because the five evidence-based strategies seem so simple, but it is a challenge to do it because you can know something, but getting your body to cooperate with what you know is the challenge. And that's where the coaching comes in, the accountability comes in, the encouragement comes in. So the S, it's a word that I have a challenge saying it, but it'll stick to it. It's called stick-to-itiveness. So what that means is just having tenacity, being willing to, whatever we start, to stick to it. Because when you stick to it and persevere, and that's why it's important to have those small promises, because when you stick to it, your brain is like, okay, we're moving somewhere. We just need to keep doing, even though it's hard. So that is, in my book, I call it perseverance. There's scripture, perseverance must finish its work so that we can be mature and complete. And this is a season of our life where we're working towards maturity, but we can't get there till we persevere. So I don't know what your thoughts are on stick-to-itiveness or perseverance.
I know that when we stick to something, it helps to build our confidence.
Yes, and I feel like you are such a great example of that, Tracy, in my life, where you stick to something and you get it done. And I loved watching you, just for example, the time when you said, okay, I'm going to have a goal. I'm going to find someone to, and I said, what's your goal? Actually, we had daily times that we fixed, and you had me make a goal for myself, and you made a goal for yourself. And we met regularly and we didn't talk. We just sat and worked on your goal. And I was still working on my goal. You stuck to it and accomplished your goal. So I think you're the expert to talk about that. Just how you made the goal to, I think your goal was simple. I'm going to get someone to help me clean my house. And you had thought through what do you want? I don't know if you're willing to share that because it's a beautiful example of stick to it.
It was just simply that I made specific steps. I got very specific about what I need to do, and I just did them, and it all came
Well,
together.
that's the challenge. I
Yeah.
can make a goal, but it's not very specific. It can be a
Yeah.
big goal. And so I think
Yeah.
training us and teaching us how you make it very specific and actionable and measurable. And, you do a good job making those SMART goals. And so that's what it takes to stick to it, is being very clear about our goals and what the end is. So thank you for being that example.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah. Would you like to give us a quick name, the E and the T?
Okay. E is encode joy. And this is a Joy Talk show. And I think part of the practice of retraining our brain is making sure that we encode joy in it, what gives us pleasure, make it fun. Like even our goals, making it fun. For me, doing that body double, as we call it, makes it fun, even though the work is hard, because I know that there's somebody doing it with me, gives me joy. Or, oh, I'm going to get my coffee reward. So let me do my 11 push-ups. So really encoding joy in the activities that we do. So I don't know if you guys have any ideas about how you make hard things fun so that we can be consistent. Yes, I appreciate
That's
you being the comedian.
laughter for me, like
Yeah,
finding the joys, finding the hilarious in menopause and laughing about it, I think can help us
yeah.
retrain our brain.
That is so true because I know that I'm very serious. So can you tell us how you laugh through this stage in life?
Well, for one, the changes that I've had, I noticed that my face was looking a little bit like my face shape was changing a little bit, and my nose seemed a little bit bigger. So I thought I would get eyelash extensions to
Ooh,
make my nose and my face look smaller.
okay.
Like how
That,
you have shoulder pads to make your waist look smaller. Well, eyelash extensions to make my face look slimmer.
love
Um,
that.
no, but um,
I thought that was a joke. I didn't.
just
I thought you were serious.
It sounds like I'm very serious, and then
I
he's
was
like,
like,
"That's very nice." I'm like, "Oh,
I
she
was like, oh,
really."
that's a
it
great
is
idea. My face is so big, I should go get some eyelashes.
it is a true story. That was one of the
Okay,
things
there
I
you
thought
Oh,
of.
go.
really? I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then every day I look in the mirror, I'm like, boy, I look more and more like my grandmother. I love my grandmother. I loved
Now
her.
that is not funny to me because I feel that too, but I'm like, oh no. I'm glad that you want us to laugh about that. Hey, look at that. I look like my grandma.
Yeah, I love my grandmother. I'm like, that's okay. She was a beautiful woman. So,
Yes, she will.
but I try to embrace the uniqueness of the experience. I think each of
Mm,
us have different experiences. And even though, like, I may, we're like aging at the same time and adapting to the change in our body plus aging, I'm really learning to, one, pray and ask God to reverse the aging process, but also to really embrace the uniqueness of this, if that makes sense. Like, God is continually reshaping me and forming me in a unique way.
yes, he
That's
is.
that's what I find joy in.
Yeah, appreciate that. So that is the E, encoding joy into our systems so that we're not just serious. Let's laugh about looking like our grandmas. It's fun. I do love my grandma too, so it's good.
Yeah. Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cindy was talking about that. I was thinking of growing old with grace. It's like, so
Mm,
now we look in the mirror, we see some wrinkles, and just it's like we've heard about this time of life where you get wrinkles, and now it's here, and just have grace with it.
yes. And that just leads me to the T, that's tenderness. And so just being kind to ourselves and showing a lot of grace. So you kind of wrapped it up for me, Trey. Thank you. Yes.
Cynthia, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Great topic. It's important to put it all together. So it's nice that Pam has had that experience with just prior to us bringing it up and finding a topic in March about women and our age group, our ideal age group is so timing was perfect. It's great to hear what Pam has going on for the community and can offer people in their journey.
And Cynthia, it was kind of your idea as we were brainstorming what to talk about. So thank you for bringing it up and giving us a chance to share our experiences and gain some wisdom and insight. I thank everyone for tuning into this podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Joy Talk Show. We hope it inspired you to nurture joy-filled, meaningful connections in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use a little more joy today. We'd love to hear how this conversation touched you. Reach out anytime at joytalkshowpodcast@gmail.com. or visit joytalkshow.com. May your days be rich with meaningful connection. Until next time, keep filling your cup until we can fill it together.
Feel the rhythm of your beat.